Would I buy the PR4000 again? The No Fade channel? Checking in. Jonathan here with the best and the worst power racks of 2025. What is going to be best for your home gym space, your lifting style, and of course your wallet. Now it should go without saying that you don't need a power rack to have a great home gym and get in phenomenal shape. For a long time I was utilizing a $50 budget Amazon squat stand down here and it worked just fine. But for most people, a power rack is the foundation which their whole home gym is built around. If you already own a power rack, I want you to comment below which one you have and most importantly, if you would buy it again. And at the end of today's video, I'm going to tell you which power rack I would have in my home gym if I didn't already own this Rep Fitness PR4000. So why didn't I go with the Rogue rack? Well, let's face it, the price tag was the biggest detrimental reason that I just said no. I would have had to wait a lot longer in order to be able to write that check and afford the rack. The second reason, which was almost as important as the price point, is that it is 43 inches wide, which is 2 inches wider than most of your foreign-made racks. And I know 2 inches doesn't seem like much, but for me, I always have trouble re-racking my bars. I'm always kind of clipping them and hitting them on this smaller rack, and the additional 2 inches would have meant a whole lot more damage not only to my barbells but the rack itself. I mean, I would have been literally clanging and banging away on every set. Now if you want a Rogue rack but you don't want to pay that hefty price tag, you gotta look at Bells of Steel Hydra and Manticore Power Rack. They are literally copies, spec for spec, and you can get them in not only 43 inches wide but 41 inches with tons of customization. On top of that, all of their attachments will fit Rogue racks, and all of Rogue's attachments will fit their Hydra and Manticore racks. Over 4.5 years ago, I went searching for the power rack with the best value to cost ratio, and I landed in the bullseye, the Rep Fitness PR4000. And quite honestly, I got 100% lucky. At the time, I had no way of knowing that Rep Fitness was gonna absolutely get behind their PR4000 and their PR5000 and drop a whole boatload of wonderful attachments. In what seemed like a short amount of time, Rep Fitness made it rain power rack attachments. They dropped their Selectorized lat pull down and low row, the Athena, and even the Aries, just to name a few. So I am going to answer the most frequently asked questions I get on this channel regarding the Rep Fitness PR4000. How has this beaut held up? I have put this power rack through so much more abuse than the casual user. I tend to be exceptionally careless when it comes to loading and unloading my barbells, as well as just swinging adjustable benches around to get them into place. On top of that, because of the channel, I tend to review a lot of funky beta equipment on this, and a lot of that equipment doesn't have the niceties, the UMHW, that protects the rack itself. So there are a lot of scratches, dings, and dents because of it. But the good news is I have not only got my money's worth out of this thing, but there are absolutely zero rust issues. Now, what's the difference between Rep Fitness's PR5000 and their PR4000? They're two premier power racks that they have built their entire rack system around, and it's pretty short. The big difference is the 5000 has a much bigger, flashier, nicer to look at back plate, and it has bigger bolts. This 4000 comes with 5/8, and the 5000 comes with 1 inch. And if you go on the Home Gym Discord, they're gonna tell you that 1 inch is gonna be better than 5/8 of an inch. And I will admit that the 5/8 of an inch, because it's a bigger bolt, nut, and washer, you're going to get a bit more stability in your 4-post power rack because of it. However, that absolutely goes right out the window once you add additional weight to your power rack, whether it's an Aries, an Athena, an extra set of uprights like I have here, or you just absolutely throw on the front feet. That extra stability that comes with the 1 inch holes is gonna be a non-factor. To add insult to injury and probably the biggest reason I went with the 4,000 over the 5,000 is the hole spacing. This has west side hole spacing, meaning in the bench press zone, the holes are going to be closer together. So when you're trying to align that perfect liftoff point on your bench, you're not going to have a big gap between your sweet spot and where you have to line it up. You're going to be able to kind of dial it in a lot better. 100%. Now in 2025, competition and home gym equipment prices are high, and power rack options these days are huge, but the PR4000 still delivers an immense cost to value ratio. The thing is just through the roof in terms of giving you everything that you could need without overcharging you on what they're delivering. And there's tons of color options, but you can also add 6 posts, you can add wings, you can attach an Adonis to this thing. Rep Fitness has really created an interesting ecosystem to let you utilize a power rack almost like you would Legos, setting up your system specifically for your space and your needs. The number one reason that I went with the Athena that I have now over the Aries is my ceiling height. I'm in a basement, I've got low ceilings, I've got a smaller, lower power rack. If I got the Aries, I wouldn't be able to do a full lat pull down. Reason being is that they have 2 connection points, and in order to connect those points with an attachment, you lose about 2 inches. And those 2 inches are what is the difference between getting a half rep on a pull down and a full extension and getting that stretch in my lats. If I had taller ceilings, yeah, I absolutely would have gone with the taller rack as well as with an Aries over the Athena. It seems like every company is trying to utilize an Aries or Athena style Sectorized system inside their power rack to increase functionality. And should you go with an in-rack attachment system or buy a separate piece of equipment in order to get your lat pull down and low row as well as your functional trainer? And I've got the same exact boring answer I always give every time someone asks me. If you are tight on space and it is at a premium, absolutely go with an in-rack attachment. You not only save money, but the amount of space you're going to save and the level of versatility you're going to get out of putting an Athena or an Aries or anything of the sort inside your power rack is just through the roof. However, if you do have extra space, I would absolutely recommend going with separate individualized pieces of equipment. People think when they go with an Aries or an Athena or something of the sort, they are saving a boatload of money, and they are saving money, but it's not as much as you would think. But the more important part, the more important reason I tell people to go with those separate pieces is that if you're able to set up different systems in your home gym, you feel like it's more of a local gym where you got a power rack and then you go over to the functional trainer, then you go over to the lat pull down and low row. And at the end of the day, if you have any issues with either, you're able to easily swap one out. Whereas if you've got a system like an Aries and something goes wrong or you decide you just don't like it, you literally are stuck with it unless you feel like selling the entire thing along with your rack. If I had to do it all over again in 2025, knowing what I know now, would I still go with the Rep Fitness PR 4000 6-post? And the short answer is no. I actually wouldn't go with the 6-post. I would go with the 4-post rack. Now, if I had the height in whatever new gym I was in, I absolutely would go with an Aries. And if I didn't have the height, I would go with an Athena. But even though it's a 4-post rack, I would make sure I have 16-inch cross members in order to maximize space and put this thing right up against the wall and open up this home gym as much as possible. When you're first building out your home gym, usually space is never the problem, it's usually money, and you want to get as much equipment in as you can. But over time, as you build up that equipment and all of the attachments and this and that, and you expand from a 4-post to a 6-post rack, your home gym shrinks and it gets cluttered. And the experience when lifting in a cluttered gym with not a lot of space is detrimental. It doesn't give you any sense of purpose. It doesn't make you feel excited to lift. It almost feels like a nuisance. And I did go with the 6-post rack, and I'm glad I did at the time. But if you look at this gym from before versus now, it's much, much smaller. If I cut out that extra upright and minimize those cross members, I would have all the functionality I have now, but I would have a lot more space to work with. Now, many of you are tight on space, but you don't want to sacrifice your home gym experience. You want the best power rack for a small space, and you gotta go with the all-in-one home gyms. They become extremely popular, and so many companies are putting them out because they're so versatile and because they've got everything and the kitchen sink. It's everything people want, so it's one payment and you are effectively done. If I was building out a home gym in a tight space, I would absolutely go with Rogue Fitness's FMHR twin functional trainers or the Rep Fitness PR4000 Aries 2.0 with the smaller cross members. I think the Rep Fitness comes in at like 28 inches and Rogue Fitness comes in at like 36 inches, packing so much into such a small amount of space. Now, one word of caution, and that is beware of the hype. A lot of people tend to chase the hype, and I'm as guilty as the next person. And there seems to be a big movement towards Smith machines in your power racks. No. And I know that people who use them absolutely love them. Typically, it's people who are bodybuilders that are doing high reps and they don't want to kind of destroy their central nervous system in the process. I would say that's great. But if you've never utilized a Smith machine before, or you don't know if it's absolutely for you, I wouldn't go out and buy something with a Smith machine. A lot of people tend to get them in-house and realize that they just don't like the way it feels versus free weights. Now, I know it's easy to doom scroll on your phones and see all of these $100,000 pristine home gyms and think that you need to spend a fortune if you want to get after those gains. If you're on a budget, don't be stressed. We have all been there before, and you don't need a lot of money in order to get a great home gym that's going to serve you for years. And if you are on a budget and you are looking for a power rack, might I recommend looking at a pretty good commercial grade squat stand. You can get all of the functionality and sturdiness of a power rack, and you won't be sacrificing much in terms of safety, but you're going to save big on that budget. It's also worth mentioning that squat stands also get an honorable mention when it comes to tight home gym options. Now, tons of companies have put out commercial grade 3x3 squat stands. If I had to go or look at a couple, I would steer you towards Bells of Steel and Get RX. I've put my hands on both, and those bad boys are sturdy, and they come with a lot more options than you'd think in terms of setting them up specific for your space. Before I announce the number one best power rack of 2025, I've got a word of caution. Be mindful, be aware, be present of which ecosystem you're buying into. When I bought this PR4000, I had no clue, and I just happened to get lucky that Rep Fitness dropped so many different attachments. And I know tons of people out there love their DIY Frankenstein setups where they buy uprights from one company, a power rack from another company. They put it all together with different bolts. They're drilling holes. They're using different attachments from companies. They're going on Alibaba trying to buy stuff overseas to save some money. And that's all well and good, but I honestly think it is a recipe for disaster for most of us. Oftentimes when you go that route, stuff isn't going to align just right, it's not going to fit perfectly, and you've got no recourse when it doesn't. So whether you're buying your entire home gym at once with all the accoutrement, all the attachments, or you're just getting a standard 4x4 power rack, look down the line in terms of the evolution of that power rack and what you can add to it if you so choose. And the number one power rack of 2025, drum roll, is the one you already have. Most of you watching this video, most of you that made it this far already have a power rack, and you should keep it. Now, oftentimes we think that the next piece of equipment we buy, that next purchase is gonna be the it factor that's gonna drive up our PRs. It's gonna be the motivation we need to train 7 days a week and twice on Sundays. I'm telling you, getting a new piece of equipment in is nice for like the first month, but the reality is if you already have a power rack, there's not going to be anything you can buy that's going to improve what you already have. We kind of get into that mindset by going on social media and seeing these new advertisements and these new sizzle reels, and your favorite fit influencer just got a new delivery that he didn't pay for.
Got him!
You don't have to chase the hype train. You can keep exactly what you have. Dust that bad boy off, and if you want to go crazy, get a $10 can of premium spray paint and just go to town. That thing's going to look brand new. You can save a boatload of money and keep on crushing your workouts. And now it's time. It is time for my final thoughts. And the equipment that you use in your home gym is not nearly as important as your programming, your consistency, and your intensity. What is important is that you utilize my affiliate links, which are in the description of today's video. Also, watch these two epically viral videos. As usual, thanks for watching, and don't save anything for the trip back.